Hi, my name is Donna and I am an OpenSciEd teacher. Today we're going to be going into lesson 2, which is part of the B.2 unit. This lesson might be one of my favorites and my students' favorite because we get to safely burn fuels and collect data about fires. Let's dive in and see how we got here, lesson at a glance, key moments, and material management tips and tricks. Starting with how we got here. So during lesson 1, we figured out that zombie fires are caused by burning peat in the permafrost, and they release lots of carbon into the air. In this lesson, we are wondering, what is peat and why does it burn so much? There must be something special about it to allow it to burn underground. Let's see the lesson at a glance. So this lesson is an investigation. It will take 2 days. Material preparation is pretty quick, only 10 minutes, mostly printing off things. This is a hands-on investigation, and it does not require devices for the students. Looking at the lesson at a glance, we see 2 sense-making loops. So let's look at those in more detail. In loop 1, we're going to brainstorm fuel sources and consider ethics. So talk about what could be a fuel source. We're going to observe wildfire fuel samples and compare them. And then we'll have an initial ideas discussion about the fuel samples, what's similar, what's different, and making predictions about the fuel sources. And finally, we're going to read about what peat is. Students are going to figure out that peat is composed of plants that were in ancient wetlands, and the plants did not decompose, and that the peat is currently locked in permafrost. Which leads us to wonder, how is fire from peat different? Which goes directly into loop 2, which is when we're going to investigate how is peat different from other fuel samples. We're going to develop an investigation plan for safely burning and collecting data with the fuel samples. We're going to design a data table for the information that we collect. We're going to conduct a demonstration of the burning fuels. And finally, we're going to have a building understanding discussion about the burning fuels. Students are going to learn here that peat is harder to ignite, but burns for longer, produces more smoke, more CO2, and has a higher burning temperature than other common fuels. Which leads to the next question we have: why is there so much peat in the Arctic? What we figure out in this lesson, that peat is carbon-based, made from ancient plants, and is used widely as a fuel, but it's also being scaled back as its use of fuel in quite a few regions. We're going to learn that the Arctic permafrost thawing is what is exposing the peat, and that peat burns slowly, releases lots of CO2 when it is burnt. Let's take a look at the key moments for this lesson. The first key moment is part 4, initial ideas discussion about fuel. This key moment is going to come after the students have observed the different types of fuel samples, and they're going to have a discussion about the similarities and the differences between the fuel samples. So thinking about the weight of the fuel, how does it feel, which one's heavier, which one's lighter, which one's easier to break, harder to break. And what do we think is in the fuel? What makes it a fuel compared to something else? And then we're going to build our initial claims about what peat is made of. Part 5, we're going to read about peat, discover what it is made of and how it is created. We discover that peat is composed of ancient plants that has not decomposed and has been compacted for up to thousands of years. And we're going to learn that peat has 2 times as much stored carbon as all of the world's forests. So there's a lot of stored carbon and stored energy in peat. Part 6, we're going to develop an investigation plan together as a class. We're going to break down evidence into either energy or matter and think about how can we collect that evidence. So with energy, thinking about heat, light, and then what tools would we need to be able to measure heat and light. A lot of students will come up with thermometers pretty quickly. And then we think about the matter, the substance of it, and what tools can we use to measure matter. A lot of students are going to be suggesting scales to be able to measure how it's changed. Part 10, we're going to design a data table together as a class. The students will complete a turn and talk to design the data table. I really work to let the students lead the discussion, but I will ask questions to help navigate the students to data that I know is going to be useful to compare to. For example, if the class is a little stuck on what data to collect, I'll give them the question, what do you notice about fires? Quite frequently, I'm going to hear students talk about how bright it is or how hot it is. I'm like, okay, what can we measure with heat? And they're like, oh, temperature. And then we talk about the ways that we can measure temperature. Part 11 is when we will be conducting the demonstration of burning the fuels. I recommend, if you're able to do this in a fume hood, that's really helpful, especially because peat is going to produce a lot of smoke. And making the bromothymol blue, the BTB, ahead of time is going to make this a lot faster. I also try to make this part as interactive as possible for the students because, again, they've been excited to get to this from day one. I will let them hold the thermometer. I'll assign students to keep track of specific fuels or specific points of data. I'll have a student that's in charge of looking at the mass numbers and then sharing it with the class. I really try to make it as engaging as I can for the students. Part 12 is when we will be conducting our building understanding discussion. This is when the students are going to compare the data that they collected. How did peat compare to grass? How did it compare to sticks and branches? We're going to see that all the fuels produce energy because we saw light and change in temperature, but the amount of light and the change in temperature is going to be different. And then we are going to figure out that the carbon in the fuels moved into the carbon dioxide in the smoke. And that when we saw that change in mass of the peat and the branches, it's not that it just disappeared, it's that it changed forms and it moved into CO2 in the smoke. So where do we go from here? We observed peat and other fuel samples, read about what peat is, and collected data on how peat burns. We're wondering, why is there so much peat that is not decomposed in the Arctic? My students see the Arctic initially as a place that doesn't have plants, that doesn't have life, and we need to figure out what could it have been like in the past. All right, material management tips and tricks. So I like to make the Notice Wonder charts competitive with just myself. I'll tell the students, I was able to find 4 new pieces of information for me. Can you find 4 or can you find more? It helps make them a little bit more motivated to complete it. Also, I get very creative with the fuel samples when we're doing the burning demonstration because I live in an area that is typically rainy. And so I will substitute and we'll talk about what it represents. I'll use brown paper for the grass. I'll use popsicle sticks for the small branches. When we are working on discussing and creating our investigation plan together as a class, this is also a time when I will reinforce a little bit of the scientific method. And we'll talk about what would the independent variable, dependent variable be, and what's our hypothesis? What do we think the fuels are going to do? Next, a lot of my students want to measure the amount of smoke. And so I push them to expand on that. How can we quantify the amount of smoke? How can we collect numerical data? And that leads really nicely into the use of the BTB. And lastly, a CO2 sensor is a fun addition. Personal glossary management, we've got a few words that we co-construct: fuel, peat, energy, and matter. Energy and matter are really being built off of the middle school OpenSciEd units. So a lot of the students have experience with those two words. And then words with meaning we encounter are permafrost. What we're going to want to carry over from previous lessons is we're going to want to have that community agreement ready, and there isn't any posters that are created new in this lesson. So, like I said, this is a really engaging lesson, and the students love that they get to safely conduct an experiment with fire. They make great connections between the matter and energy components of fire. And I would say the one thing I would like you to remember is to get the students participating as much as possible in the demo. Thanks for watching, and you got this.